All right, I have 7:32. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you again for being here. My next guest, our MC, needs no introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your silent hands together for our MC this morning, Chris Nunez with the Victor Valley College Foundation. Good morning, Chris. Don't do this to me, Chris.
All right, everyone, are you all ready for this? Good morning. Today is January 5th. The year is 2022. COVID cases are on the rise. The work from home movement is going strong, and you know what that means. It is totally acceptable to wear slippers to work and eat cotton candy for breakfast again. Congratulations. Welcome to 2022. Just kidding, everybody. It's a great day here in the Victor Valley because all of us are getting together and we are ready to lead the high desert, learn about what's going on, and make sure that we move good things forward. So congratulations on making a great choice right at the beginning of the year and joining us for today's Valley Morning Insight. So it's fantastic to have you all joining us today. To get us started, I'd like to go ahead and ask Pastor Dane Davis with Impact Christian Church to lead us in the invocation. Morning, Pastor Davis.
Good morning, Chris. I'm happy to report I am wearing my slippers to work this morning, but I did miss the cotton candy. So maybe tomorrow morning. In Lamentations chapter 3, we read these words, and I think this is so appropriate looking back on another crazy year, 2021. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet I call this to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I will say to myself, the Lord is my portion. I will wait for him, because the Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. Please join me in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this morning. We thank you for this new year. Lord, these last 2 years have been so challenging and difficult in so many ways. Many of us, Lord, have had loved ones, friends, and family get very sick from COVID. Many of us have lost loved ones to COVID, Lord. And we just pray that 2022 would be a fresh new year where there would be a fresh movement of health, Lord, in our community, in our workplaces, in our churches, in our schools. We pray that we would be able to put COVID behind us. Lord, we pray that you would strengthen immune systems, that you would just help businesses and schools and churches to prosper. And so, Lord, we just come to you because you are a faithful God. You are good and you're loving. And we just trust in you and wait on your perfect timing. Please be with every speaker today, everyone who's participating in this VMI meeting. We thank you for all those who are joining us on Zoom. And we just pray that this would bring honor and glory to you. And once again, Lord, be with us in this new year. May we bring you honor and glory in all things. And it's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Need to unmute yourself, Chris. You're still not unmuted, Chris.
There we go. How about that? First Zoom of the year. So of course that's going to happen. Thank you so much, Pastor Davis. We really appreciate those great words. Our bell ringer for today's event is our Chamber Special Events Coordinator, Ms. Jenny.
Hey, Chris, sorry to interrupt you, my friend, but there's this beautiful flag on our screen, and that's your cue to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Okay, Mark, I really didn't want to do it because I know I'm going to mess up the words because you totally jinxed me, but here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to pay tribute to our wonderful nation. Please put your right hand over your heart and follow me. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah! First time through. Take that, Mark. But now our bell ringer is our Chamber's Special Events Coordinator, Miss Jenny Flores. And look at that picture. Hey, Jenny, I heard baby Joy just celebrated her first birthday.
Hey, Chris, good morning. Great job on the Pledge of Allegiance. Yes, she did. Baby Joy had her very first birthday on New Year's Day, January 1st, and she is doing amazing. We had her try ice cream for the first time, and she loves it. And then we had her try cake at her party, and she's scared of cake. But she, for those of you who don't know, sometimes Joy would join me on our Zoom meetings. So this morning she wasn't able to join us, but I do have one of her rattles with me. So this is the bell this morning. So for those of you who have sound offs, I will shake this rattle if you go over your 1 minute time.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. Sorry, Joy had a scheduling conflict. Hopefully we'll get her back next time. All right. So for today's meeting, we'd like to go ahead and thank our presenting sponsor with Mountain Desert Career Pathways. We'd like to introduce Director, Mr. Matt Wells. Good morning, Matt.
Hey, good morning, Chris. Thanks for the intro. Let me switch over to my presentation here. Hey, thanks, everybody. I just want to take a few minutes and wanted to share a little bit about Mountain Desert Career Pathways and Mountain Desert Economic Partnership. But before I do that, I wanted to say thank you for many of you who took the survey. You might recall the last couple of months, Mark sent out a request for you guys to take a survey in partnership with Mdep and with the County Workforce Development Board. We had just under 100 responses, a lot of good information there that we're still crunching through, but that's going to make a big impact on the work that we're doing. Wanted to share a few of those results because it's why I'm here this morning. We had 85% of people who responded to that survey said, yeah, we're hiring. Both entry level and experienced, with almost half saying, hey, we're doing both. Of people who responded, those who said 78% said that entry level positions only require a high school diploma. But then conversely to that, like 55 to 60% said we're not aware of what the local career pathway programs are, whether that's high school, college. And most people said, hey, yeah, we want to know more information. Also, 62 to 63% said we're not familiar at all with Mountain Desert Career Pathways or Mountain Desert Economic Partnership. So I thought, hey, let me take a few minutes and share, because 70% said, hey, we want to know more. So here I am. Thank you for tuning in here. So let me share first for Mountain Desert Career Pathways. So 9 districts, you can see them on the screen there, came together to form this consortium known as MDCP. And the purpose of this really is to align classroom talent development with local industry needs. And so this is focused on what you hear as career pathways, or CTE, career technical education. These are 2 or more courses, or sorry, 2+ courses over a couple of years, where students are doing really deep dives into industries. This isn't, I really want to dispel the notion that this is like exploratory stuff. Students are doing really deep dives into industry content. So we have some samples I listed there: medical assisting, automotive technicians, welding, computer networking, construction, digital design. You know, we've got a lot of things there listed, and pretty much if there is a industry sector that's cooking in our area, we've got content where students are studying that. And I get asked all the time, like, how many students are we talking about? So the number of students we had enrolled last year in CTE kind of courses was 14,000. There's a duplication there because some students take multiple things, but there's a lot of students that are invested in industry sectors. And these are some photos from some of our programs taken recently. You know, like I said, the breadth from like machining to auto shop to medical to computer science stuff. There's lots of really good content going there. And so we really want to connect those students with industry partners, which is all of you. Okay, so how can you get involved? We really want students to know what your businesses are, because if they know who you are, then oftentimes they think, hey, that seems like a cool place to work. I want to aim for that company. Many of you are hiring. This is a way to kind of test talent, get the talent exposure to what that talent is that's up and coming. So I would ask, please consider being like an advisory member, a guest speaker, hosting a field trip, hosting some interns or teacher externs so teachers know more about you, and then doing some mentoring. If that's something that's interesting, there's a link there. We'll get that in the chat. And so connect with us. We'd love to connect with you. Also, you can see a document down there. This isn't just a benefit to students. There is a benefit to businesses as well when you host students. Like your leadership goes up, you get to test talent for free. There's a lot of cool things in there. We put them in a little document, so that might be an interesting read for you for a few minutes. All right, so that's Mountain Desert Career Pathways, MDCP. Now, MDEP, so Mountain Desert Economic Partnership. I facilitate this work as well, and this is a collaborative work between industry, government, education, community organizations, really focused on building that strong talent pipeline and a culture of where we have really strong talent that's filling the local jobs. We heard from across industry sectors that folks are just a little frustrated having to import talent that doesn't stay for like 3 to 5 years or longer than 3 to 5 years. And it's just that cyclical investment that just seems like there's a better solution. Well, with 14,000 students in pathways, and that's just at the high school level, we know there's a lot more added to that at the college level, and a lot of cool industry opportunities here. There's things that we can do to bridge that gap. Also, we want to build that like engaging, attractive community, so that people want to live here, stay here, play here, learn here, all that. That's one of our mantras. So we have 4 action teams that meet monthly. They do 90 minutes. They're diving into this work. There's a good breadth of work. The website will be here on a second if you're interested in joining that, or just kind of tune in and see what we're doing. But we have an ask right now. If you took the survey, you saw reference the essential skills document. So we've heard over a number of years that folks are a little frustrated maybe by entry-level employees who maybe aren't showing up to work on time regularly. They're on their phones. So you want people who are obviously they're on time. They've got good work ethic, good bedside manner. They're treating resources really responsibly. So a couple years ago, we surveyed about 300 people in the community, industry partners, government, community work, and so on, and said, hey, what are those skills? We boiled it down to this one document, try to get some shared language. Many of you, okay, so we're using this at the education level. We know some industry partners are using it with like entry-level employees, but what we really want to do is get more logos on this thing, because when students see logos for places that they want to work, they're like, hey, I got to pay attention to this. This is important. Many people on that survey said, yeah, we'd love to put our logo on that. But unfortunately, a lot of those responses were anonymous. So you can see a link down there where you can get this document in English or Spanish. Feel free to download it, use it. And there's also a link on there. We'll get it in the chat for a very, very brief survey that says, hey, yeah, please use my logo. Here's my logo. So it's like a few questions. It should only take a minute if that's something of interest. Also, we're considering maybe like a sticker endorsement for people to say, hey, yeah, at this business, we endorse these, or these are important to us. So if that's of interest, that survey has that as well. Really, we want like shared language so that students know as they kind of go through our system, K 14, 16, whatever, and then in the industry, they're seeing that this is important so that they know they're coming with that soft skills, essential skills thing dialed in. Plus, we know they're getting the technical skills. So there you go. With that, thank you for your time and allowing us to sponsor today. We're looking forward to the rest of the day this morning, and thanks for your time. Oh, there's the website. Contact us if you want to learn more, get involved, any of that. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt. We really appreciate you. And thank you so much to Mountain Desert Career Pathways and Mountain Desert Economic Partnership for sponsoring this morning. You know, real quickly, for those of you who this is your first time hearing about MDCP or Mdep, this is the tip of the sword. This is where the work is done to ensure that the community that we live in is going to continue to grow and is continuing to attract the kind of industry and careers and lifestyles that we want here, not only for ourselves, but for our kids and those that are going to come after them. Nostradamus is not right. 2022 is not the year of the rise of cannibals and cryptocurrency. It is the year of the rise of the education, more industry in our community, and keeping our students right here, happy, healthy, and raising their own families. So if you yourself are interested in sponsoring a future VMI, I'd go ahead and encourage you to please contact Ms. Jenny Flores, our special events coordinator and graphic designer, and she'll reach out to you to provide additional information on these and other opportunities. So at this point, I'd like to go ahead and call on Ms. Ruby Clark, the Chamber's Director of Member Services, Member Relations, to announce the Chamber's newest members. Good morning, Ruby. Sorry for butchering your title.
No problem, Chris. Thanks for the introduction. Hello, members. Welcome back to 2022. We're excited, and I'm excited to announce our new members this morning. Mdep Solutions, Inc., CDS Professional Services, and Landmark Professional Insurance. Thank you, new members, for joining our chamber. We're excited to have you on board. And if you know of a business that can benefit from chamber membership, please have him give me a call and I'll put my number in the chat box. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. All right. It's time to move on to everybody's favorite. It's time for sound offs. A sound off is an opportunity for a chamber member to speak for 1 minute during this event. The cost is $20. When I call your name and business, please unmute your microphone and you'll have 1 minute to present. And remember, if you go over that 1 minute, you're going to have that rattle ringing off at you. So be ready for it. So to get us started, our first sound off is from none other than Mr. Marshall Haprov with the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District. Morning, Marshall.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Chamber. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for being patient with us as we figure out how to get through this first part of 2022. Again, my name is Marshall Haprov. I am the Communications Analyst for the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District. This time of year, every year, we open the submission period for the Carl Moyer program grant applications. The Carl Moyer program is an incentive-based funding mechanism to reduce emissions and improve our local air quality. This is primarily geared towards entities that have heavy-duty off-road equipment. The aim is to get that equipment out of commission and to put into commission cleaner technology. If you have an entity or you know of an entity that could benefit from this type of funding, again, in reducing local emissions, you can reach out to me directly, or you can go to our website and get more information and download an application, mdaqmd.ca.gov. Happy New Year to you all, and we'll see you real soon. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Hey, Marshall, I don't want to concern you, but you might want to be careful. There is a strange, shady-looking character right over your shoulder, so be ready for that, okay?
Thank you, Chris. I didn't know.
Yes, safety first. Our next sound off is from Mr. Eugene Butici, representing Cattlemen's on Route 66. Hey, good morning. Happy New Year, Eugene.
Good morning. Actually, this is in my capacity as the Executive Director for the Barstow Chamber of Commerce. I am here to invite everyone to their ribbon cutting on December 6th, tomorrow at 12 noon. Cattlemen's on Route 66 is a fine dining restaurant that opened in Barstow during the COVID fun stuff. They said it's at 12 o'clock. The address is 1523 East Main Street, next to the Ramada Inn Hotel. For those that have been around for a while, it's the old Sizzler building. Come and have a good time. And what else can I say? There's going to be food there. I believe there's going to be some wine samples as well. They have an extensive wine menu there in addition to the fine dining. So come on up and see what the place is all about.
Fantastic.
How much time do I have left? I'm done. Okay, bye.
You had 10 seconds left. You were good.
Okay.
You nailed it. All right. Thanks so much, Gene. And I think I just saw Ruby put in the chat that if you'd like to register for that ribbon cutting, that you can go ahead and message in that we can get registered. And let's see, next up on our sound offs, we have Mr. Michael Johnson with Desert Community Bank. Hey, Michael, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy New Year to the Chamber. And I serve as one of the 8 Desert Community Bank branch managers. And one of the newest additions to our branch teams is our new location. If you know anything about the location on Hesperia Road, it used to be 2 separate buildings. And we have now sold off the one big building, and now we've moved across the street to where our drive-through service was, and it is still there. But it's now a full-service branch, newly remodeled inside, and I am announcing a ribbon cutting on February the 9th at 9 a.m. And you all are invited to come and attend that event. I'm sure it'll be also on the Chamber website. And so come and check it out. If you can see behind me right over there is a picture of Kemper Campbell Ranch back in the 50s. We have some other neat, nostalgic Victorville pictures in our branch. And so I hope that you guys can make it on Wednesday, February 9th at 9 a.m. for our ribbon cutting. Thanks, Chris.
Well, fantastic. Mark your calendars. Another good one. All right. And I love those vintage pictures. Victorville City Hall, if you ever get the chance to walk around, has some great ones as well. So I'm looking forward to coming and checking out the ones that DCB has hanging up. And our last sound off now from Miss Veronica Fuentes with the Ruth and Naomi Project Corporation. Hey, good morning, Veronica.
Good morning, Chris and all chamber members. Welcome to our very first Valley Morning Insight of 2022. Hi, I'm Veronica, and I co-founded the Ruth and Naomi Project with Robin Smith and Tara Placentia. We're a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing safe housing, rental assistance, and educational resources while enhancing the life of our financially challenged seniors in the high desert. With a combined 30 years of senior living experience, we do understand the needs of those in our high desert community who are underserved. Through grants, proceeds from the Wild Goose Vintage Thrift Store, as well as fundraising efforts, we're able to assist those in need by providing rental assistance and a wealth of education to help navigate our seniors. We also provide senior-centered education, which consists of, but is not limited to, healthy life enrichment classes such as stress management, brain fitness, senior exercise classes, discussions of Medicare benefits, VA benefits, and long-term care, medical presentations regarding diabetes management, COPD, and so much more. So let's talk more about this in person, and please join us for our ribbon cutting grand opening Friday, February 18th from 12 to 1. Thank you.
All right, Friday, February 18th. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Veronica. And thank you to all of our Sound Off speakers. Remember, if you'd like to be one of our Sound Off speakers going forward, it is $20, and be sure to get there early to register. Okay, and now we have a wonderful video spotlight. This morning's video spotlight is sponsored by Sharon Wallace Photography. Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you so much to Sharon Wallace for sharing those great moments that you've captured. Obviously, reach out to Sharon if you're interested in, family photos, weddings, that kind of thing. Sharon Wallace Photography. Thank you. Okay. Now, I know nobody wants me to do it, but I have to do it. It's in the script. He put it in there. So I'm going to go ahead and reintroduce our president and CEO, Mr. Mark Retfield, to give us a chamber update. Mark, you still there?
Yes, I'm running the PowerPoint. So yes, I'm still here. And thank you for that wonderful introduction to kick off the 2022. I can tell it's going to be a wonderful year, Chris. Thank you so much for that inspirational introduction.
Here. I heard that you were trying to run this meeting from Vegas.
Yeah, yes, I wish. Well, I'll try to now. See, I'm running the PowerPoint and I have to give my update at the same time. And in my world, that's kind of like, the old patting your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. So I'll do the best that I can. But hey, welcome everybody, 2022. I know we're all excited to be here, and this just has to be a better year, doesn't it? I wanted to remind everybody our next coffee break update is this Friday, January 7th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. This event, we have updates from our city of Adelanto, Hesperia, Victorville, and the town of Apple Valley. That'll be this Friday at 9 a.m. via Zoom. The first registration announcement will go out today, and then we'll do a follow-up one tomorrow. Our plan is to be back in person for coffee break at the Adelanto Stadium on Friday, January 21st at 7 a.m. Please note the sponsorships that are on your screen. And if you have any interest in sponsoring either an in-person or our monthly Zoom coffee breaks, please comment in the chat and I will get back to you and provide you the information again. Our next Valley Morning Insight, and we anticipate being in person, that's going to be the city of Victorville, Wednesday, February 2nd at 7:30 a.m. at the Hilton Garden Inn. So hopefully you'll all register for that. Registrations will begin early next week. Ignite High Desert, I know we had postponed it. It was supposed to be November of 2021 and we decided to postpone, but it will be coming back spring of 2022. We're looking at mid to late April. So we plan on announcing that date within the next couple of weeks. Lastly, I wanted to mention that we are currently planning our 23rd annual at Evening Affair. That's going to be on March 6, 2022. That's a Sunday. I want everyone to see that we are going to move this event to the brand new Desert Valley Hospital Community Room at the San Bernardino County Fairgrounds. We're really excited about this move. Also note the time, as everyone may know that before we couldn't start this event until 7 p.m. because of the mall closing at 6 p.m. But we're very excited to have this meeting this event a little bit earlier. We're going to start at 5 p.m. and we actually extended the time a little bit for it to be a 3-hour event. So we're really excited about this change for 2022. This is going to be the year of change for a lot of things, but if anyone's interested in donating a silent auction item, or if you're interested in what our sponsorship levels are, please also comment in chat, and myself or Jenny Flores, our events coordinator, will get back to you to provide you that additional information. But again, for sponsorship silent auction, it's easier for us if you put it in the chat. We will start doing some blast emails because tickets for this event will be going on sale real soon. And that's all I have, Chris. Thank you again for that wonderful introduction.
Mark, you blew it out of the water, sir. I don't know if this is just the cotton candy talking, but you got us really excited. Ignite coming back in the spring, making Evening Affair longer, more time to network, more time to eat, more time to drink, more time to enjoy with friends is going to be a great time. And I don't think I'm the only one who's excited because I just had a look at the chat and you guys are awake, you guys are ready, and you guys are pumped to be interacting with each other. So that is very exciting. And although we are Zooming this morning, we still wanted to take this opportunity to give everyone a quick 5 minutes or so with fellow attendees. So at this time, the Chamber Special Events Coordinator and Graphic Designer, Ms. Jenny Flores, she's been working hard actually to set up breakout rooms. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to her so we can get a little interaction time.
Thank you again, Chris. All right, I hope you guys are ready to network. We're going to go into breakout rooms. And this is really fun because you get to wish everyone a happy new year and get to know about all of the awesome businesses that we have a part of our chamber. So when I open the breakout rooms, there's going to be a button that pops up on your screen for you to join your room. Please do me a favor and join your room. Otherwise, we don't want you to miss out on the networking. So click that button. It will take you to the breakout room. I want to remind everybody, introduce yourself, share information about what your business does, what services you provide. And then when we are done networking, we're going to have about 5 minutes. When we are done networking, you don't actually have to do anything. I will close the breakout rooms, but just stay in your room so you can get the most networking time. And then when the 5 minutes are done, it will automatically bring everyone back to our main session. So hope that makes sense and hope you are ready to network because here we go. All right, everyone has been invited to join their breakout room. So let's do this. All right, for those of you who are still here, you should have the invite to join your breakout room. So just go ahead and click that join button. I know there's lots of chamber members looking forward to meeting you, so don't miss out.
Hey, Jenny, are you still, you're in the main room still, right?
I am.
You can still see
And
the
everyone else is still in the main room.
Well, some people probably didn't want to join their room. That's okay. Did you still see the PowerPoint up?
Yes.
Okay.
Ron Williams in Breakout Room 17 is asking for help. I will be right back.
Okay.
All right, Mark, I'm going to go ahead and close the rooms, and then it will give them 60 seconds.
Got it. We're way ahead of schedule. 10 minutes to be exact.
All right, it looks like everyone made it back.
Wonderful. I don't know about you all, but that was some great time to get to talk to a couple folks, find out about some more great events that are coming up here, some more fun things to look forward to. I'm really glad to hear that everyone is hitting the ground running this year. We've got a lot of big plans, a lot of great things to make happen, and I'm really excited for everyone. So let's keep it going. Let's make sure we support each other. Let's show up for one another and show what we're all about. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the drum roll, it's time. It's now time for today's presentation. First, let me start off with, if you have any questions for our guest speaker, please go ahead and send them to me in a private chat. And at the end of the presentation, as time allows, we'll go ahead and run through all of those questions. So for you all today, we have Mr. William Betley. He practices in all areas of employment law, including unlawful harassment, discrimination, wrongful termination, employee classification, and wage and hour. He also counsels and represents architects, engineers, and subcontractors in all phases of the construction, planning, development, negotiation, and litigation process. Mr. Betley is a frequent speaker on numerous employment issues such as unlawful harassment. I told you that one. Unlawful harassment, disability discrimination, leaves of absences and workplace violence, employment handbook, and hiring and firing issues. He's also the chairman of Inland Valley Employer Advisory Council, and he is the editor of that organization's employment newsletter. Mr. Betley was admitted to practice law in California in 1984, and he's a member of the American Bar Association, Defense Research Institute, Inland Valley Employers Advisory Council, Orange County Employer Advisory Council, California Chamber of Commerce, Society for Human Resources Management, Professionals in Human Resources Association, Orange County Bar Association, Building Industry Association, and Home Builders Council. Mr. Betley is listed in the National Registry of Who's Who for attorneys in the United States. With that, good morning, Mr. Betley.
Good morning, Chris. I got to change that bio because it's cringeworthy. It's so long and like, So my audience hates me already, right? So anyway, good morning, everybody. I don't know, maybe it's the air in the high desert, but you guys are also upbeat. I'm going to try to maintain that upbeat nature. Chris is a tough act to follow. And I know that we have a legislator on the phone, so I'll be kind as well with respect to that. But even though we had COVID raging in year 2, it was still a very activist year up in Sacramento. There were hundreds of bills that were put in front of Governor Newsom to sign, and he signed the vast majority of them. And we could actually talk for days on all the new laws, but Mark says we have about a half hour. So I'm just going to hit a couple of the high points. Obviously, the elephant in the room continues to be coronavirus. So I don't have to tell you guys that, there are things on the horizon that you have to be aware of that aren't necessarily legislative driven. CDC guidelines. Cal OSHA has become a very powerful agency now with the power to issue requirements and mandates. State and local requirements. There's going to be a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court possibly on Sunday with respect to Joe Biden's mandate on vaccines. So stay focused on that. And we've been getting a lot of questions in the office about what to do with respect to that mandate. Stay tuned, because as you know, it was supposed to have occurred by January 4th. There was a stay on it by a circuit court in New Orleans. That was overturned by another circuit court. There was so many lawsuits that were filed by governors that there was actually a lottery on which circuit court would decide. And it was the 6th Circuit that overrode the 5th Circuit. And now we're in front of the US Supreme Court. So that's going to be decided coming up really soon. So you have to stay tuned with that. But there are pieces of legislation that apply to employers. And I've got a few of them kind of my top 10 list. And the first one does deal with coronavirus, and that's Assembly Bill 654. And what 654 does, it adjusts, it adds, and it clarifies exposure guidelines from a piece of legislation that was introduced and signed last year. And that was Assembly Bill 685. And basically what 654 does, it adjusts the Cal OSHA reporting time that had been articulated by the prior piece of legislation, 685, from 48 hours to 48 hours or 1 business day, whichever is later. Because the bottom line is, as we get more educated on this virus, there are going to be changes, there's going to be pivots. 654 is an attempt to do that. There's also a recognition there are certain industries in California that just can't be messed with by Cal OSHA or by these various statutes. So what 654 does is it adds renewable natural gas to the list of critical government functions which cannot be materially interrupted by Cal OSHA. Because if you're an employer now, you all know that Cal OSHA has a lot of authority with respect to COVID mandates. So there are going to be some industries that are going to be outside of the purview of Cal OSHA simply because they're so important. So what 654 does, it adds renewable natural gas to that list. And then 654 also clarifies that Cal OSHA's COVID-19 exposure requirements do not apply to healthcare facilities. And it also adds adult daycare centers, community clinics, community care facilities, and child daycare facilities as additional entities exempt from reporting outbreaks. And that's important for a lot of my clients because a lot of my clients are in-home healthcare providers or healthcare providers. So this clarification definitely helps. And what 654 also does is it clarifies the definition of exactly what is a work site, because we all live in kind of an upside down world now. And, you know, like Chris said earlier, now in today's world, you can come down in your jammies and your cotton candy beard. Well, that wasn't the way in 2019. So we are now getting used to hybrid, which is partly in the office, partly in the workplace, partly at home, or totally remote work. So with these different changes in workplace settings, there has to be a clarification with respect to how workplace is defined. And workplace, for purposes of Assembly Bill 654, excludes remote telework from exposure notification requirements. Now, what does this mean for us as employers? What it means for us is you got to look at your IIP plan, your injury, illness, and prevention plan. Make sure it's been updated. Make sure it's been updated with respect to all of the coronavirus mandates, but particularly these changes, the adjustments, the additions, and the clarifications that have been brought on by Assembly Bill 654. Okay, so that's number one. Another bill that is kind of targeting warehouse distribution centers is Assembly Bill 701, which is the warehouse quota requirement section. I mean, we all know that. I mean, a lot of us have Amazon Prime and we get a product and we expect it in our front door the next day. All right. And it's a tremendous convenience that we all like and appreciate. The fact of the matter is the guys and the ladies at the distribution centers are just getting beat to heck, you know? And what's happening is, as a result of the high pressure to get product out the door, there have been a tremendous increase in workplace injuries. So what Assembly Bill 701 is trying to do is target those type of warehouse facilities like Amazon, like Walmart, you know, those types of facilities that have 100 or more employees at a single location, or 1,000 or more employees over various distribution warehouses in California. And basically what 701 is trying to do is address the rise of workplace injuries by putting certain limitations on quotas that employers put on employees to basically get product out the door, okay? I mean, right now we're talking about prohibiting workplace quotas, for example, that would prevent an employee from taking a meal break or a rest break, because or taking a restroom break. Anything that prohibits or interferes with that will be prohibited. Also, at the very beginning of the employment, the employer that will have a quota in this type of setting will have to have a written quota list to give to the applicant or to the employee. During the pendency of the employment, if that employee wants to see the written quota requirements and makes a request of the employer has to provide that written quota requirement expectation to the employee. Now, what this law also does is it prohibits employers from taking adverse action against an employee for failing to meet a quota that has not been disclosed. And again, if a person or an employee complains about being punished for not meeting this unknown quota, any retaliation, any adverse employment action will also be prohibited. And there will be a rebuttable presumption against the employer that any retaliation that the employer takes against an employee for either complaining, about the unfair quota system, not seeing it, not getting it after making a request, there's going to be a rebuttable presumption of unlawful retaliation. So 701 is important if you are a warehouse distribution center of size in California. And if you are, what you need to do is you need to review your quotas for compliance with this new law, okay? I mean, employers are provided a right to cure the violations, but there's still the potential for a class action, which for all employers on this call know that's a horrible thing. And what's even worse is the potential for a PAGA claim. And for those who aren't aware, PAGA stands for Private Attorney General Act. I'm going to talk about that in a couple of minutes, but basically what that does is it deputizes all employees to be private attorney generals in the workplace, because the feeling is, at least it was in the legislature years ago when PAGA was passed, that there are so many wrongs that are happening in the workplace that the state simply can't monitor it all. So they're going to deputize all the employees to be what? To be private attorney generals. And those are very difficult from an employer's perspective to defend. They are really a business at a best, business interferers at a worst, business busters. So if you are a distribution center in California, please pay attention to AB 701. Another important section, new law, is AB 1003, which deals with wage theft. Basically, what 1003 establishes is a new offense for what's called intentional theft of wages by employers. What AB 1003 does is it makes an employer's intentional theft of wages, gratuities, or benefits in an amount greater than $950 for one employee, or $2,350 for 2 or more employees in 12 consecutive months, punishable as grand theft. Guys, this is no joke. This is a serious and important piece of legislation. And intentional is defined as, intentional deprivation of wages with the knowledge that the wages and gratuities is due to the employer under the law. And again, we're talking now about criminal prosecution of these types of things. So what does that mean for employers across the board? Because 1003 applies to all employers regardless of size. So if you're a mom and pop startup, or if you're a big Walmart distribution center, doesn't matter. Assembly Bill 1003 applies to you. So what you need to do now is you need to review your handbook policies, and particularly the wage and hour policies, right? The exempt status, meal and rest period practices, minimum wage, and you may have to make sure that your supervisors are also aware of the obligations under these policies in your handbook, and certainly under the provisions of the California Labor Code. Because AB 1003, I have to tell you guys, is no joke. It's scary stuff. And it percolates down all the way to middle managers. So it's not just the guys up in the corner office, right? There's liability as it applies to mid-managers for the misapplication of wage and hour issues. I've got a labor commission hearing, again by Zoom, sign of the times, right? This morning at 10 o'clock on the issues of meal period and rest period. So, what we're going to try to do is make sure that it wasn't an intentional act, because I don't want to have to be dealing with this new statute, even though I don't think it goes retroactively. So that's an additional big one. So please keep an eye on that, regardless of your size. Another slight modification to an existing law is Assembly Bill 1033, and that is the California Family Rights Amendment, right? We remember last year that the CFRA was a big change. It used to be mirroring the FMLA, where you would have to have 50 or more employees. Well, the legislature last year reduced that number from 50 employees to 5 employees. So now the net is much wider with respect to who is covered under CFRA, caring for one's own personal health, caring for others. Well, the amendment under 1033 adds a new category of a individual that you can take time off to care for them, and that is now parents-in-law. Okay, so that is just an additional, obviously it's a spouse, it's a sibling, it's a parent. Well, now we add it to parent-in-law as an additional amendment to 1003. There's also an additional change, which there's a pilot program that was introduced last year. If there are any disputes under the new law that, employers of a certain size between 5 and 19 would be compelled to mediation. And what Assembly Bill 1033 does is it has certain modifications to that mediation pilot program. Senate Bill 62 is important if you are in the garment industry, because what Senate Bill 62 essentially will do is will eliminate piece rate work as a method of operation in the garment industry, number one. And number two, as an attempt to shut that type of work down, it makes all of those in the chain of custody jointly and severally liable, right? That's legalese, meaning you're equally 100% liable for a violation of this law. So Senate Bill 62 will make manufacturers and or retailers within the garment manufacturing supply chain liable for wage and hour violations of their contractors up and down the supply chain, even if the manufacturers are unaware of the violation. So if you are in the garment industry and you are not actually the producer, be aware of what's going on, right? So what can we do if you're in that industry, right? Employers of garment workers and businesses in the supply chain have to review their policies and the employee compensation practices to make sure that the employees aren't being paid piece rate, and that the employees are being paid in compliance with this new law. This is also a game changer with respect to the garment industry in the state of California. Another big law, which is especially big for me on cases that I settle, is Senate Bill 331, which is the Silence No More Act. And what this basically does is it eliminates the ability of having certain things in releases and settlement agreements that try to stifle or muffle a person's ability to talk about workplace wrongs. I always like to have, or at least I used to like to have, confidentiality provisions in my releases and settlement agreements, because we were always fearful of copycat lawsuits, right? I mean, because a lot of these claims that we settle sometimes are not with merit. We just settle them because it's business, right? It'll be cheaper to resolve the case rather than litigate a case all the way to trial. So we're going to want to have assurances that this is not going to be a spate of these types of cases coming down the pike from other employees. So we used to like to have confidentiality provisions, non-disclosure provisions, basically saying that you're going to settle this case, but you can't talk about it. Well, there are cases, there are pieces of legislation that prohibited this type of conduct in sexual harassment cases. What Senate Bill 331 does, it expands it. There basically will no longer be any type of prohibition on workplace wrongs, on any type of FEHA claim, anything that deals with harassment, discrimination, or retaliation. And now you have to have a provision in the release that says nothing in this agreement prevents you from discussing or disclosing information about unlawful facts in the workplace, such as harassment or discrimination, or any other conduct that you have reason to believe is unlawful. That's important, because for me, I used to always like to have it muffled. I used to like to have the person who is settling the case without the ability to talk about what the case was. Now we can no longer have that. And I'm fearful that what this will do is open up the likelihood of these copycat lawsuits that we're all so afraid of. So that's a big change. So if you have severance agreements, if you have non-disclosure agreements, if you are entering into settlements after January 1 of this year, make sure that your releases, your settlement agreements, and your severance agreements comply with this new law, Senate Bill 331. Another new law is Senate Bill 606, which further expands the power of Cal OSHA. I have to tell you, Cal OSHA has really gotten powerful as a result of coronavirus. And what's happening now is there is a further expansion of that power. Now, the good news from my perspective is that of all the agencies in the state of California, over the years, my experience has been that Cal OSHA is probably the most reasonable and easy to work with, right? And maybe it's just because of the types of issues that they have. But what Senate Bill 606 does, it gives more power to Cal OSHA by having two new categories of violation, right? Obviously, we were all fearful in the old days of the dreaded serious and willful, right? That was the kiss of death. If you got a serious and willful notice from Cal OSHA. Well, there's two new ones now, and one is enterprise-wide and one is egregious. And they both kind of spring from the COVID pandemic. And enterprise-wide violations basically impact employers with multiple work sites. So it provides liability to that employer if the employer has a written policy or procedure that violates a section of, section 25910 of the Health and Safety Code, any standard, rule, order, or regulation, or Cal OSHA has evidence of a pattern or practice of the same violation or multiple violations committed by that employer at more than one of the employer's work sites. So a couple of things here. If you have a uniform policy for multiple work sites, make sure it is correct, okay? This is the beginning of the year. Now is the time to do your internal audits to make sure your policies are all compliant with current law. Because if you have a bad policy and there are issues across your workforce in multiple locations, it will be considered an enterprise-wide violation. And an employer who commits an enterprise-wide violation can be assessed a civil penalty up to almost $125,000. So again, this is no joke. This is something that we have to take seriously, especially if you have multiple locations. Now, if you've got multiple locations and have separate policies in each of them, then that's something where you're going to have to look at each of those policies to make sure that there's no overlap so that you don't get the dreaded enterprise-wide violation from Cal OSHA. The other violation is an egregious violation. And that is one where Cal OSHA can find that an employer has committed such violation if there are 7 categories of this one. Number 1, the employer intentionally, through conscious voluntary action or inaction, made no reasonable effort to eliminate the known violation, right? This is targeting coronavirus. This is targeting workplace safety, right? Number 2, the violations resulted in worker fatalities, a worksite catastrophe, or a large number of injuries or illness. For purposes of this law, catastrophe means inpatient hospitalization. Again, think about the times that we're living in, regardless of duration, of 3 or more employees resulting from an injury, illness, or exposure caused by workplace hazard or condition. What this law is attempting to do is force employers to do the right thing with respect to workplace safety and the pandemic. Number 3, the violations of this section resulted in persistently high rates of worker injuries or illness. Number 4, the employer has an extensive history of worker violations. Cal OSHA always goes back to see if you have prior history with them. Number 5, the employer has intentionally disregarded its health and safety responsibilities. Number 6, the employer's conduct taken as a whole amounts to clear bad faith in the performance of its duties. And then number 7 is the employer has committed a large number of violations so as to undermine significantly the effectiveness of any safety and health program that may be in place. Again, this is focusing primarily on COVID and COVID-related health concerns, but it can be applied to anything because, at some point, this storm will pass but this law will remain in place. And keep in mind that Cal OSHA may issue citations under this law going back 5 years, okay? So this is not an easy one to wiggle out of if you're a employer that's been playing fast and loose with safety issues. Again, each violation is considered a separate incident for purpose of civil penalties. So again, this adds up. So be careful of this new law. Really quick, I want to talk about Senate Bill 646, only because what I do for you guys, you know, in addition to all the platitudes that Chris was kind enough to read earlier, I represent only businesses, okay? A labor and employment attorney, business attorney, that's what I do. And I've known that through the years, PAGA is just a devastator with respect to my client's business. And, you know, the legislature is slowly, I think, maybe recognizing the fact that PAGA is so detrimental to businesses in California. So there has been a slow pullback, but, you know, the legislature, you know, gives with one hand, takes away with the other. There has been some exemptions for PAGA, but generally they have to do with the attempt to unionize. And what 646, Senate Bill 646 does, it exempts PAGA for unionized janitorial employees, all right? Previously, there was an exemption for unionized construction workers. So what the state is obviously attempting to do through this legislation is compel more collective bargaining, more unionization, but also recognizing that there needs to be at least a slight pullback from PAGA. So I really encourage you guys to become familiar with the Private Attorney General Act as it relates to things like wage and hour issues, meal period, rest period, everything under the labor code, because it really is a significant piece of legislation that was passed years ago. Senate Bill 657 allows for the electronic document transmission of policies or information that is sent out by the state of California. I like to tell my clients that you don't have to paper your walls in your workplace anymore, because there are so many posters that are put out because of all the regulations that you can put the posters on the wall, and that's going to be sufficient, you know, wallpaper for you guys. Well, under SB 657, you can now send this information by electronic document transmission to your employees. That's the good news. The bad news is it doesn't eliminate your requirement to physically post these obligations, whether it's the new requirements under the CFRA, whether it's a Cal OSHA obligation, whatever it is. You still have to post those posters on the wall. And I always tell my clients to please, 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 when you put these posters up, put them in a place of high visibility. Because if you're going to have a claim, for example, of a FMLA, a CFRA violation, I've had a lot of plaintiffs' attorneys that literally want to go to the workplace to see where the employer puts up the posters. And if you put up the posters, for example, in a place of low traffic, you know, behind the door in a closet, that's going to be an area where the plaintiff's attorney is going to be able to make some hay with that. So as you get these posters, please put them in a place of high visibility. But you can now also send these notices via electronic document transmission. Just a couple of more things, because I know I'm up against time. There is Senate Bill 807, which basically is a procedural amendment to FEHA, right? The Department of Fair Employment and Housing is a very heavily taxed agency. And as a result of that, there is an extension of time that Senate Bill 807 gives, basically giving claimants an extension of time to file, recognizing that a lot of the claims that are brought under FEHA to the Department of Fair Employment and Housing sometimes take longer to review by that agency than in the past, only because they got so many dang files. And as a result of that, there is now a requirement that employers retain records longer. It used to be a minimum of 2 years, right, for employees and applicants. Now it's 4 years. Now, I tell my clients as a practical matter, keep records for 5 years just to cover yourself. But some employers like to get rid of documents because they don't like to have mountains of paper, or now everything is on disk, but they still like to clean out information. At least have your records for 4 years. And that is not only for your employees, but also applicants that you didn't hire. SB 807 also extends the period for which an individual can file a complaint by tolling the time period while the DFEH investigates. Again, taking longer for that agency to complete its investigation. It also, this new piece of legislation increases the power of the Department of Fair Employment and Housing to pursue investigations and basically to petition to the Superior Court to get the ability to conduct investigations on employment and housing discrimination issues. So again, you want to, from an employer's perspective, ensure that your record retention policy is updated consistent with the new law. Okay. Now, one last thing, and then I'll be done. I promise, Mark. Minimum wage goes up every year. Okay. Now, it's important if you have exempt employees, because invariably I will have because we all know in California, you got to pay your exempt employees at least 2 times the state minimum wage. And a lot of times employers in California will forget that the minimum wage goes up every year. And the light bulb will go off in August. Oh my God, I didn't change the compensation consistent with the minimum wage increase. So then you got to go back in time. You've got waiting time penalties. You've got all this stuff that you have to deal with. So particularly if you have exempt employees, make sure that on January 1st, 2022, the minimum wage increased to $15 an hour for employers with 26 or more employees, and $14 an hour for employees with 25 or fewer employees. Also be aware that if you are doing work in various counties, cities, that you might be subject to local ordinances that don't necessarily comply with the minimum wage of the state of California, okay? Because quite frankly, it's a 3-headed monster now that we have to deal with as employers. We have to deal with federal requirements, we have to deal with state requirements, and now we have to deal with local ordinances, which is really a nightmare, right? I mean, being a human resource manager used to be easy peasy. It used to be what you could give a receptionist a promotion from reception to human resources. Now, human resource, you have to almost be a quasi attorney because it's so technical, it's so advanced, there are so many rules and laws. So human resources definitely earn their cost these days. So a lot to talk about in a short time. I was talking as fast as I could, Mark, because I know I've got limited time. So that's all I have. Thanks for having me. I wish you all a great new year. Keep apprised of what's going on with respect to the President Biden mandate. Like I indicated earlier, the Supreme Court will be deciding as early as this Sunday. The word I heard, it was going to be January 9th. So we'll all know what's going to be happening after that, but also keep apprised of CDC guidelines and local ordinances. And always remember, as an employer, you can have higher standards if you want with respect to things like masking, social distancing, vaccine requirements, things like that. The world is your oyster as an employer. The ordinances basically are the minimum baseline that you have to follow. Thanks, all.
That's a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much, Mr. Betley. I know everybody out there is giving you a round of applause. Those are some great things to have at top of mind here at the top of the year. I know we have lots of things that we're working on, but to be prepared and avoid these pitfalls will be a huge benefit to everyone. So thank you very much, Mr. Betley. I didn't receive any questions. You were very thorough in the presentation, so thank you. I would like to remind everyone that Mr. Betley's presentation notes have been emailed out to everyone. If you didn't receive them, please reach out to Mark or the chamber, and we'll be sure to get those out to you, because this is, again, incredibly valuable information that could save you both time, heartache, and thousands of dollars down the road. So very much appreciated. Thank you for being with us. So as we go ahead and wrap up our very first Valley Morning Insight of 2022, I want to again thank our presenting sponsors, Mountain Desert Career Pathways, and to our speaker, Mr. William Betley with Atkinson, Anderson, and Loya, Ruud, and Romo, a professional law corporation. Thank you all again for joining us this morning, and we're really looking forward to seeing most of you at our next Coffee Up Break, which is this Friday, January 7th. Please remember that this is virtual, and then fingers crossed, we'll be back in person for February. So it's fantastic to see you all virtually. Happy New Year to all of you. There's lots of great things going around in our community, so make sure you promote them, support them, and let's make 2022 a great year. All right, everyone, we'll go ahead and unmute for goodbyes, but take care. Happy New Year.
Great job, Chris. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year. Great
Thank you all for
presentation,
joining
Bill.
us on Zoom.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Happy
day.
New Year. Great job, you guys do.
Happy New Year,
Take care, everybody.
Work at the
Have a great
Capitol.
blessed
Take care.
2022.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Till next month.
Good day.